Like India hosted the Asian Cup, Women's Asian Cup
for football
in January, yeah. And they didn't keep the bio bubble properly. The entire team got COVID.
The what?
The COVID bio bubble.
Acha, haan.
So they didn't preserve the Indian team's COVID bio bubble properly. So the entire team got COVID. Then they tried to blame it on the Asian Federation when it was actually the Indian Federation's. Our team got COVID. Yeah, नहीं तो World Cup पहुंच जाते.
Yo, what is up, my friends? Welcome to another episode of Dostcast. मेरा नाम है Vinamre and Raihan. If you're new to my YouTube channel, please subscribe because we release new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. And if you're listening on an audio platform, make sure you follow the podcast and give us a 5-star rating because we're the fucking best in India, bro. So let's go. On that note, today's guest is Raihan Vadra. He hosts his own football podcast called the 18 Yards Podcast. He's a photographer. He loves wildlife. He's out there clicking pictures of tigers in Ranthambore, all that stuff. मज़े आए मेरे को बात करके. I've met him on the sidelines of a few events in Delhi. I don't think I need to say anything more. Just watch the episode. The episode with Raihan Vadra begins in 3, 2, 1. Anyway, bro, what's up? What's up? Welcome to Dostcast.
Thank you.
You know, and I've been seeing your Instagram. You spend a lot of time with tigers. So, like how? I mean, do you have a pet tiger? Are you like a... क्या scene है?
So I have 4. I have 3.
I have 4 pet tigers.
I have 3 pet dogs, not tigers.
Okay.
But ever since I've been a kid, my mom was very passionate about wildlife, going to the jungle. So, like, I think my first holiday was at a jungle. So I've been seeing tigers since I was like maybe 1-2 years old.
Were you not scared? क्योंकि एक शेर और टाइगर की दहाड़ बहुत तेज होती है if they ever roar.
मतलब it's not like I'm in a situation कि मैं मतलब वो इतना भी हो रहा है ना. Like you're sitting in your jeep and when you're in Ranthambore and all, you're sitting in your jeep and they're pretty chilled out with cars and humans and all. Unless you like get out and like start walking towards them and all, then they'll most likely they'll run away. But
they'll run away most likely. Yeah.
But yeah, I've been going to the jungle since I was a kid, so that's where it sort of comes from. I picked up a camera when I was 7, 8, so that sort of the love of the jungle translated into taking photos. I had a very visual imagination when I was a kid.
Now it's lost?
No, still there. More now, I would say. But yeah, I was not good in school. So usually sitting outside, staring out of the window. So that sort of both those things came together and has now translated into this. I
found that, you know, like photographers will sit for hours in one position waiting for a tiger to pop up.
So I was in Ranthambore, 20th of May, last month, middle of April. Not as hot as it would be now, but it was hot. And I usually when I go, I spend about, on a 4-5 day trip, I spend at least 8 hours a day in the park.
In the jeep?
In the jeep.
So you're just sitting in the jeep waiting for a tiger or someone else to pop up.
Yeah.
What do you do in all that time?
It's actually my favorite time to daydream.
Yeah?
Yeah. That's now my daydreaming time. But I mean, that's one aspect of it. It's not that there's also the fact that, you know, when you're in the jungle, you're always listening. You know, because you want to see the tiger. So you want to hear there's a deer call, a monkey call.
A deer call?
Yeah. So when a tiger or a leopard is around, then the deers, monkeys, the peacocks, they make a call to alert other deers,
Suno Sher Khan aa gaya hai.
Basically, their version of that. So you're listening for that. But in Ranthambore, luckily what happens is that, especially in the summer, that you see a lot of stuff. So in a 4-hour drive, so you do 4 hours and 4 hours. 4 hours morning, 4 hours evening. So in a drive, you're usually like, you know, 1-2 घंटे तो टाइगर के पास जाने में, टाइगर के साथ यहाँ से वहाँ जाने में लग जाता है. Yeah. But it's all about patience. People ask me, you know, we've been to Ranthambore, we never see a tiger. I'm like, yeah, but you know, in a 3-day trip, you'll go twice into the jungle. For me, it's like I go with the thing that I'm going there and I'm sitting. I don't actually care if I see a tiger or not. I've got past that now because I've gone so much that I think there's a certain level you reach. After that, you're like, okay, I'm sitting in the jungle. This is peaceful. You love hearing the sound of the jungle. And you just sit with your eyes closed and you enjoy. If you see a tiger, great. If not, fine. You know, you have the chai that's in the jeep. You have it. And I feel that's the most important part of the drive is having chai. And then you go back.
Have you actually ever had an animal attack you or किसी को देखा है attack करते हुए like very very closely?
Like attack, no. But I've been charged by a tiger like multiple times.
Charged by a tiger. It's like a fake charge कि मैं
Mock charge.
Okay.
Because they don't. I mean, I've never seen a tiger like fully charge a jeep.
Yeah.
So they mock charge. There was this one tiger in Ranthambore called Mustanda. So they also have some very interesting names. But yeah, so we were the only jeep there, and this tiger is walking towards us, and it's like a winding road. He charged us 3-4 times in the span of 15 minutes.
जो गाड़ी चल रही थी या रुकी हुई थी?
गाड़ी चल रही थी, and he runs at us. हम reverse करते हैं, then we go slowly. He runs at us again. फिर से fast reverse किया, फिर slowly जा रहे हो. And every time the guy charges and you're getting a little too close, you have to get up and just sort of like make
look bigger.
Yeah. Then they stop.
Yeah. I saw your photographs on your website, and I saw a picture of Trafalgar Square. I was in Trafalgar Square this October, and we had gone to visit someone from my family, and हम लोग वहाँ गए हैं. And I told my parents, meet me at Trafalgar Square because I'm going to do some other like London exploration. It's been several years since I've gone to London also, ठीक है, because I went to the US. मैं वहाँ गया नहीं था. Max to max एक वो होती थी transit flight, है ना? तो मैं वहाँ जाता हूँ. And it's been a while since I've sort of even been abroad because this is like in the middle of COVID. मैं वहाँ पहुँचता हूँ, मैं ट्रफालगर स्क्वायर पे देखता हूँ. There's some free Julian Assange protest happening, and Assange, don't screw me up, guys. I don't know how to pronounce his name. There's some other protests happening, but some very cool bands are playing. Yeah. And it's a fun vibe. And I'm like, I just stand there and observe it. My mother comes, she's like, oh wow, and she starts clicking videos and stuff. That place is great. I don't know what the historical significance of that is, but in your photo, it said, tell the truth.
Tell the truth. So I was walking, don't know where I was walking. I think I was walking either to or from my campus.
So School of Oriental and African Studies. Where is that in London?
So that's Russell Square.
Acha.
But this was in my first year. This was when I was at King's, I think.
Okay. So you transferred from King's to...
I was at King's for a year and then I transferred to SOAS.
Okay.
So I was just sort of walking past and you could see these big flags being waved and there was a lot of noise. Again, it was like not a protest. It was like a celebration. So I thought I'll walk that way. So I walked past it. I was taking some photos and all that. It was the Extinction Rebellion protests.
Extinction Rebellion?
हाँ, so it's climate change.
अच्छा.
हाँ, so they were holding a massive protest at that time. So they had this big thing that said, tell the truth. So yeah, I was at that time just getting back into photography.
Yeah.
So it sort of stood out.
But London बहुत ज़्यादा photographable city है, for the lack of a better word.
It's I think the thing that I like about it the most is that it's just like, you can be whoever you want to be. Like, just, tomorrow you can roam around in a hot dog costume on the tube. लोग दो बारी ऐसे देखेंगे and then they'll go about their day.
Yeah.
It's a very free city, that's why I really like it.
Yeah, मतलब मैं जब न्यूयॉर्क में भी जाता था, I felt the same because
I think New York is very similar.
New York is similar, yeah, but like also New Yorkers are used to pretty much उनका like their desensitization is so fucking high, कुछ इतना ज़्यादा high है ना कि कोई बंदा मतलब cracked out है, लेटा हुआ कोई सीन नहीं है, it's just New York, like just मैं अपने हसल पे फोकस करूँगा, मेरी कॉफ़ी और मेरे को वहाँ पहुँचना है. It's in a way I think everyone who's a young person in India should at least live in, अगर मुंबई में भी रह लोगे ना, because Mumbai is also the same. I feel like Mumbai, London, New York, maybe LA, so I don't not too sure about that, but like मुंबई के अंदर भी ना लोग इतनी absurd चीज़ कर रहे होगे ना, जैसे कि एक टाइम पे टिकटॉक आया था तो कितनी बड़ी बात थी कि लोग मतलब बेस्ट से बेस्ट कपड़े पहन के आके स्कूटी पे टिकटॉक बनाते थे. Like normal, if you see like a big film star pass by, normal. Yeah, if you do it in Delhi, it's like the world gathers, bro. आप कुछ अलग कर रहे हो, ये कैसे कर दिया आपने, आप स्टेटस को कैसे वो कर रहे हो डिसोबे. Yeah, so that's I would definitely want to like at least live in London for like 1 or 2 years just to see what the South Asian community there as well. वो भी बहुत काफी active है उधर.
बहुत like it's massive.
Yeah,
a lot of people. And like I went in my first year, second year, I don't remember. I went to a club called Saucy with a couple of friends, and we went there because at that time I still do, but that time more I used to listen to a lot of UK rap. Grime.
Yeah.
So they had some really good grime music that used to play. And we went in and it was just basically South Asian people. This is pretty cool. It's more, it's more South Asia than respective countries.
वहाँ पे कुछ नहीं रहा था. नहीं bro, हम सारे ही भाई हैं, of course, I totally know about.
Because but that's also because, and I don't know if you would have noticed this in your when you were in college, but at a certain level in most countries abroad, racism का undertone तो होता है. Right. So when there's that level of understanding regardless of where you're
apes together strong.
Yeah, so there's that level of sort of understanding, no?
वो है, because like one of the funniest things, like you will meet someone from say Nepal, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka. हाँ यार, हम तो भाई हैं, एक जैसे ही हैं, because at that point you sort of look past the media narratives that the world has painted for you. Like also because you realize कि यार अब हम one great thing that happens, which is why when people go abroad they experience this, unless they're very bigoted, is that they realize a lot of their beliefs are a product of their environment.
Yeah.
ठीक है, मतलब अभी मैं यहाँ पे रह रहा हूँ तो मेरी ज़बान एक तरह की है, मेरी भाषा एक तरह की, मेरी सोच एक तरह की है. तुम मेरे को चेकोस्लोवाकिया के अंदर डाल दोगे, ठीक है, all of a sudden I'm like, who am I anymore? And like it's like, how much of my familiar past do I want to keep with me?
Yeah.
Or do I want to see what is emerging in front of me?
And I think it's not just if you go outside of India. I think we are very lucky to have such a diverse country,
Yeah.
I think even if you were to go outside your city or your town, it won't be as much of a change, but it's still a change. I think, like you said, all beliefs are a product of environment.
Matlab, of course, like if you live somewhere where you're always told कि हाँ यार यहाँ पे तो ऐसा ही है, you have the same friends all of your life, it's great, sure, बहुत बढ़िया है, but you realize that you sort of become incompatible with the rest of the world because you're not ready to accept the other person.
Yeah.
I've noticed that a lot, especially when you were asking me कि मैं India Art Fair क्यों गया ना. It's because of that, because I realized that I was becoming very like हम तो यही करते हैं type की चीज़. I was realizing how like living in one place, operating from one place was sort of like making me more rigid in my beliefs, and I didn't want that. Art से बढ़िया क्या है आपके perspective बदलने के लिए is like, yeah. I have also seen some of your other pictures on the website. ठीक है, there's a few that are just I can't make sense of. Why? Because मतलब जो मैंने थोड़ा बहुत ही photography के बारे में समझा, don't screw me up in the comments, is that people usually operate with themes, right? Your theme was like talking about darkness, like the one show that you put up, right, at Beaconate House. But on your website ऐसा लगता है कि इंसान हंसी और खेलना और खुशी में भी यकीन करता है, because there's some very bright and vibrant photos as well of someone at the beach, like a sunset with like a leopard or a tiger walking by, like a bunch of really cool pictures. Like it's not all just black and white. But your exhibition, like you talked about how you lost sight in one eye. That is a very, मतलब वो एक अलग ही चीज़ थी.
So my exhibition was basically, because it was my first show, I wanted it to be, first of all, whether it was my first show, second show, third show, whatever, I wanted this thing to be different and immersive. Right. So the principal thing of the idea was, how do I make this different? Right. Because, putting your photos in a room with framing and doing a show, you call your friends, you call this, call that is fine. It's one thing. But I wanted this to be an experience for the viewer. I wanted it to be more than just a photography exhibition. So I was like, what are the two elements of an exhibition, whether it's photography, art, whatever, that are central, right? The time, space, and light. 3, right?
Time,
space, and light.
No, I get space and light. Time, how?
Time, matlab, when you go into an exhibition, and you want to, like, there are posters behind you, you want to look at that poster for 5 minutes, you can, no one will stop you,
यही तो permitted है. Staring is like art की दुनिया के अंदर करते हैं लोग, stare ही तो करते हैं.
Right. So those are the 3 things. So I was like, what if I disrupt them? What if you disrupt those 3 central themes? What happens? Right? How will people react? How will their their perspective of this entire thing change? So that was one side of planning this thing. The other was that, okay, now it is my exhibition, right? I am going through 9 years of my work to select this thing of 30 photos. So what is the relation this thing has to me, right? This entire concept, how does it relate to me? And obviously, like you said, I injured my eye. That was one aspect, the darkness. The other was that, after I injured my eye, I went through a lot of mental health issues. Another perspective. Third perspective was sort of, and the third perspective was actually the central perspective, the central theme, was that I felt that as a society, as a world, wherever, whether it's here, whether it's abroad, I felt we were just getting controlled. Right? And I didn't say that control is a bad thing. Right? I just wanted to make the statement that you are being controlled. Whether that control is good, whether that control is bad. Like, for example, you stop at a red light. It's a form of control. Okay, but that's a good control. Nahi to bhai sab crash ho jayenge. So that was my statement. But I didn't make that statement in your face. Right? So the moment you entered the exhibition, everything was controlled. So you couldn't see anything because it was completely dark, pitch dark.
तो लोग एक दूसरे में बम्प नहीं कर रहे थे?
I had, there was someone I had 5-6 friends helping me, and they would walk through with them.
Okay. So you're literally leading people through the dark.
Yeah. So what happens is, and this was a very interesting perspective from like an art viewing side, that it was like a reset. It was like a brain reset. Like people would, like even when I went in and I had been operating in that gallery with the lights on, I had gone to see it 10 times before I even entered to set it up.
Tera show hai, haan.
While we had set it up, I was there for 4 days with the entire team who was setting it up. So I knew, like, with my eyes, actually now not with my eyes closed because of what I'll say, but I knew exactly where the turn is, where you have to go right, how to go into the thing, right? But when we first did the first run through of this thing, I walked in and it was so dark you can't see your hand, right? In the initial this thing while walking in. So I realized there was a complete reset, that my brain was like, okay, now I can't see anything. So the first modicum of light that I see, I'm going to follow that. So you would walk through this entire reset. You would have a little light when you went in, then complete darkness for a couple of seconds. And then you would see the first photo would come on. It was a whole timed thing. The first photo would come on. We had put sensors into the box. So as soon as the first person would cross into the hall, the first photo would come on. So basically, it was a clean reset of everyone. And the focus was immediately captured by the art. Right?
Because they're hungry for light.
Because you don't know where you're going. So you're completely led by that. And then what we did was, once you went in there, first we did a sensory overload by making it dark. So your
sensory overload kaise hua dark mein? Because it's like the lack of stimulation.
मैं explain कर रहा हूँ. Lack of stimulation, right? So you're looking for something.
Okay.
Right. So and then we put in sound. Right. So we put in loud music. It was this I had taken there's this musician called Orsten from I think he's from one of the Scandinavian countries. He has a couple of songs which are very eerie. So we put his music in, and in the beginning there was a monologue that I asked a friend to do, which basically talked about, light, space, time. Whatever. There was a little bit of monologue, sort of hinting towards the concept. So the sound, the lack of light, and then the immediate this thing of light created a sort of sensory overload that they were completely focused on what I was showing them. So your senses were then being controlled. Your time was controlled because it wasn't like कि मतलब on हो गया फिर on ही रहेगा. It was on for 15 seconds and then the photo would go off. Then the first room, it would be on. There were 4 photos like this, on 15 seconds, about a minute, because there were 4 photos. By the time you've just about seen all, they go off and the next one comes on. Right. So that was the entire setup throughout. There were about 30 photos and we did 4 rooms. And within each thing, the art was, the first one was where there were just tigers. So it was a room where basically we were mirroring the fact that everyone is at some level is watching you, right? Whether it's your friends, whether it's your family, that you're being watched. Second room was translating into basically that you live in a very, a concrete tapestry, right? It was street photography, so it was the world around you basically. The third room was a little more abstract, a little mix of that. And the fourth room was completely calm. Right? It was just pictures of water. And while you were walking through this, on the outer, there were censored boxes which had street photography on it. So pictures of streets. So like there was a poster here, there was the Tell the Truth one here, there was another one that said, please excuse my depression, it has a mind of its own, etc., etc. That would come on as you walked along. And then when you went out, there was a poem by, it's actually a very nice poem, which I can try and find. So the poem basically, if you understood the concept and got the thing fully, then you sort of understood what the poem was trying to say. But at this time, like I told you before we started this, that I was not fully into art and all at this time.
You can send me the poem later. We'll put it up on the screen.
Okay. So I wasn't into arts like that. So I had a very shallow understanding of art, of how the art world functions, etc., etc. So I had a concept and I put it out there through this exhibition. But the most beautiful thing I got out of it was the realization that art is subjective. That people would go in there, right, and come out and relate to something with this exhibition and say, oh, is this what it's about? Because they were not told the concept before you went in. It wasn't like you had a reader before. You came out and then either me or someone, if I was around or if someone else from the guys who were helping me were around, you could ask them a question, they would talk to you about the concept, about the show, etc., etc. So there we realized that this thing is completely subjective. And so it was completely subjective. People said, was this thing about mental health? The people who knew I had an eye injury said, is this about your eye injury? And these were all, like now, because it's been 6 to 8 months, almost a year. At the beginning, I said these are the 3 things that factored in. But I didn't realize it then, no? When I made this concept, it was just the concept of control. But later on, I realized when people were saying this to me, I realized that, this did have an impact. This is why I chose this photo. This is why I was able to see this thing, this entire concept so well. So I picked up those things from other people actually. And it was really beautiful that this entire thing was subjective. And the only thing I was sort of disappointed about was that there weren't enough people who came to me and said that, this was not good or this was not great. Because then that would have really, that would have been a different kind of learning experience. There was only one person who was a very big photographer, who I won't name, who came and actually, unfortunately, I don't think he went and saw the thing properly. He was a little annoyed. I don't know if he was in a mood that day or whatever. He was a little annoyed by the entire production we had because I think he's a purist, and a lot of people are purists with photography and art and all. So he came in and didn't really like what we had done. So he left a note saying, great photographs do not require a great fuss, and whatever, left his name and number. So I was actually...
Sorry, Rajiv Masan.
I was actually very happy that he left that note, because it led me to understand how it functions, right? He didn't like it. That's great. Maybe he didn't understand the concept. Maybe he actually understood, saw everything and didn't like it. That's also great. It's a huge learning experience for me. I was actually disappointed that there weren't more people who came and sort of gave more... There were a lot of people who gave constructive feedback, but there wasn't enough critical feedback, I felt. I don't know if that's a weird thing to say.
I was already hooked at what you said about like control and light. Because I just think about, for example, prisons, and like allow me to draw this tangent.
Did you say prisons?
Prisons, मैं बता रहा हूँ.
That's nuts, because the poem is about, just because you said prison.
Yeah.
The poem is a letter to my jailer or something like that. It's about a prison. So that was, the control thing was this only.
और guys, मैंने तो देखा भी नहीं exhibition, देख रहे हो मेरा दिमाग.
So it basically said that that it was written by a guy who was in jail, and he said basically that I am in jail and I am looking at you from my small prison cell into your bigger prison cell.
That's crazy.
That was the mota concept of the.
So, itni sare tangents are na. I'll explore them one by one with you, and we'll see where we end up. So the reason I said a prison is right because, okay, let's just say it's darkness, and let's just say that darkness represents your new life, right? Where first of all there are no rules, right? You are stripped of your old life, right? जहाँ पे मैं कौन हूँ, मेरे को मेरी बॉडी दिख रही है, मेरे ये माँ बाप हैं, ये घर है, ये दोस्त हैं, ये शहर है, etc etc. This is where the bus stop is, this is where the cars are, right? It's a visual world, right? So you strip that away. Same like in a prison, हर पिक्चर के अंदर दिखाते हैं जब अपने पुराने कपड़े छोड़ता है, and the first night they're just locked in a cell. As you see in all prison movies and shows, eventually they make their way around the prison and they understand. So the light could represent एक कोई दोस्त आ गया, like one friendly face in the prison, whatever, right? But that's what I thought. And like when I was thinking that, I was thinking, this prison or like this lack of light, ये एक ऐसी चीज़ है जो when you're sort of also growing up, right? Things could look absolutely dark. Not from a mental health standpoint, just like dark.
Generally, yeah.
And then someone comes and says, hey, तेरे को पता है इसके मतलब ये table होती है. Oh, great. Signal, right? That's how I was approaching it. But what's also weird is, क्योंकि हमने आर्ट फेयर में इतने सारे pieces देख लिए, every exhibit was well lit. Beyond like a few rooms that had like, they were using darkness.
I think that was the Hussain one.
Hussain room had darkness, which was interesting because it was supposed to be an experience. Like now you're witnessing a Hussain, तो तुम्हें जाके देखना पड़ेगा, I guess like that. Then there was something else that had calligraphy from all across the world. एक और था वो, it was like an upside down dome. But everything else was well lit, accessible, right? White walls, blue walls, people around, all of that. So the art viewing was optional. ठीक है? यहाँ पे the art viewing is mandatory. It is the only thing your eyes will see, which is where I think the curation part comes in. हो सकता है उसने बोला great photos whatever, but like if like it's a classic example, right? Like अगर आपको किसी की attention लेनी है, आप सबसे बड़ा billboard ले लो, right? You're right in front of their eyes. You bombard them like this is what I want to say to you. So उस sense के अंदर that experiment is very cool.
Yeah. So that's what it was. I think first and foremost, it was an experiment. It was basically, I was saying that that in my opinion, people are prisoners of perception.
Yeah.
Right.
Have you read Aldous Huxley?
No.
You will like this book. It's called The Doors of Perception.
Okay.
यही है वो. और वो he was talking about, like he was one of the first guys who talked about using psychedelic substances back when they were legal in the UK, right? And he was saying how for the first time when he used some psychedelics, his doors of perception were cleansed. Okay, because उसने पूरी जिंदगी एक normal जिंदगी जी, then suddenly he takes this substance where he sees differently.
Yeah.
So he's like, now my perception is altered. And by the way, I think it was Huxley. Huxley was like he had little vision in both of his eyes. So for him, that perception was changed. For some people, it's like they do a 10-day Vipassana meditation. Yeah. You know, whatever, kuch, matlab, like this whole darkness part also, there are little darkness meditation retreats where people sit in the darkness for like days on end. And when they come out, their idea of who they are has changed.
Exactly. So that was the entire point. No? It was the entire point. The entire experiment was that how will people react to a concept-led exhibition rather than an artwork-led exhibition. Because I was pretty clear about the fact that, yes, I'm a photographer, but the entire art was the show. The art wasn't कि मतलब उसने 20 photo डाल दिया वो है. That wasn't it. It was the fact that this entire show was a piece of art. Right? It was the entire concept. Because we designed the boxes, we designed the rooms, we designed with a guy, a lights expert, exactly how the lights will work, what are the sensors we will use, what are the timings. We did tests on
Were people scared?
Yes. So we had a couple of people. What we didn't factor in, unfortunately, was that we didn't realize that if someone was slightly older, you know, कि मतलब उनके लिए थोड़ा difficulty होगा. So then for them, we sort of compromised on the experience, and the person who I sent in with them, उनको बोल थोड़ा torch on कर लो नीचे, नहीं तो गिर भी जाएंगे, problem हो जाएगा. You know, you don't want to.
Because है तो ये बहुत radical चीज़ ना, because
Yes.
you know, because okay, so when you sign up for an experience, right, like typically like okay I was at this sound healing thingy that my friend had organized at Studio Echo in Gurgaon, and like we were late fashionably, of course, so we went and this woman was, you know, using Tibetan bowls, etc., but our eyes were closed, so we were relying on sound, right? So all other senses detached, just sound. But we signed up for that.
Yeah.
You know, which is contrary to like तुम एक art gallery में जाते हो, like what's the least you can expect?
So that's what. So people hadn't signed up for this when they came to us. So we gave.
That's great, no?
Yeah. So it was basically, like I said, one experiment was how will people react to something that is conceptually led.
Dark room खेला होगा उन्होंने बचपन में.
You know, and second was how will people, you know, react to such a disruption. People who are regular art viewers, how will they react to such a disruption? How will they react to the fact that कि ये फ़ोटो 15 सेकेंड के लिए ऑन है, उसके बाद बंद हो जाएगी, उसके बाद दिखेगा नहीं, right? How will they react to the fact that they are being completely controlled? So that was the entire experiment.
Yeah. One more thing about control and manipulation that I think you will enjoy. So जब मैं college में था, I took this one film class, you know, not film appreciation, but like using a camera to make a film, right? That kind of thing. So each module had different things. One was sound design, one was editing, one was filming, right? One was characters. One of our projects was to make a photo montage.
Right.
ठीक है? And photo montage के अंदर no music, just a montage of photos. You choose one location. How you do it, how you slowly unravel it is entirely on you. हमारे को brief भी minimal सी दी थी, right? He wanted our professor, Professor Charles Murzbacher at College of Communication BU में, he wanted to see कि हम क्या कर सकते हैं. So obviously what I did is I got my photographer friend, मैंने कहा ये काम तू करेगा, मैं ये काम नहीं करूँगा क्योंकि ठीक है, and तेरी अच्छी aesthetic आया. Madhav, he makes really cool graphics on Instagram now. Yeah. So he did the entire thing.
Madhav Kohli?
Yeah, Madhav Kohli. Yeah.
Oh, I love his graphics.
Yeah, shout out to Madhav. Yeah, you know, so my podcast, the first 7 episodes, Madhav Shaw edited them.
Oh, damn.
हम साथ में कॉलेज में थे ना. हाँ, उसके घटिया जोक से मैं एक दिन इंस्पायर होकर उससे मिलने चला गया. He was 2 years younger. So Madhav Kohli did my ये वाला assignment. ठीक है, मैं वहाँ पे गया हूँ. It's a record store by the way. So record store की पूरी aesthetics दिख रहे हैं. Oh wow. मैं उसका क्रेडिट ले रहा हूँ. हाँ जी, तो बहुत मेहनत लगी थी, हमने बहुत मेहनत करी थी और बड़ा चैलेंजिंग था इस सब्जेक्ट को. झूठ पे झूठ, just going at it like that. But then what happened is this girl, so what everyone had done in the photo montages कि सब लोगों ने अपने अपनी जगहों की photos ली, like 7 to 8 photos, right? No one used the space between photos well. Because we all were like linear guys. We all focused on subject क्या है. This one woman, so you know like montage होता है, and he said no jump cuts, no burns वाले जो होते हैं ना, there's this burns cut, right? जब तुम Kevin Burns, some documentary filmmaker, I can't forget. But basically no fade ins, no fade outs. Right. I want a simple cut. Yeah? तो अब क्या है कि फोटो के बाद दूसरी फोटो, ठीक है. In none of our photos there was like a period where it was just black.
Yeah.
Now this one woman, Boston में there's this place called Bay State Road, right? तो Bay State Road के आसपास बड़े बड़े gardens हैं, and it's got, जैसे यूके के अंदर वो brown stones वगैरह बने होते हैं ना, हेक्सागन वाले घर होते हैं, ऐसे हेक्सागन की खिड़की बाहर आ रही होती है. Boston is New England, the same concept, right? So उधर वाली पूरी street पे she's taking pictures. What she did differently though is, one picture comes in, black for 3 seconds. 3 pictures comes in really fast. 1, 2, 3, black for 6 seconds. And my professor, the first thing, हम लोग सब बड़े impressed थे. क्यों? Because अभी तक सब लोगों की आंखें एडजस्ट हो गई हैं कि एक फ़ोटो आएगी फिर दूसरी आएगी, अच्छा ठीक है. मुझे लग रहा है ये ब्रिज पे गया था, मुझे लग रहा है यहाँ गया था, बढ़िया. But it's all like intellectually happening. Suddenly we're all arrested in our senses now because someone is using how this montage plays out.
Yeah.
Right? हम ये कर सकते हैं कि एक काम करते हैं, पहले उस बुढ़िया की फ़ोटो लगाने की बजाय पहले record store की फ़ोटो लगा लेता हूँ, and then slowly unravel. By using those pauses and that blackness in the middle, she literally controlled our perception of the entire thing. And the professor asked her, ये भी नहीं कि तूने ये क्या करा है कैसे. She's like, are you a piano player? Do you write symphonies? And she said yes. Right? Because if you see like most 4x4 songs or rap songs, steady. But in a composition, there's long silences as well. Blown away. Like that was when I was like, bro, you can do so much And
that's what I whenever I speak to other friends who are artists and all, my thing is always that your actual artwork is not just the piece of art that you're painting or the photo that you're taking. The biggest thing you can do is play with someone's senses. Play with someone's like perception, play with someone's senses. That's when it actually gets interesting.
Yeah, दिल से तो बहुत लोग खेलते हैं guys, like थोड़ी इंद्रियों से खेलो. हाँ.
Yeah, so yeah, that's why like I was completely, the other thing was that I was completely consumed by this idea. Like I was completely, when I was doing this show, I would wake up and I would think about it. I was in the shower, I would think about it. I was eating food, I would think about it.
Yeah.
So once I was done, I took a holiday for 2 months. Then I just chilled.
Yeah.
So I was so like invested into it that, yeah. So my thing is also that if I'm not, I'll only do like another show, etc. when I'm equally invested again. Otherwise, no point.
But मैं इस art की दुनिया में भी जैसे रहा हूँ, मतलब for whatever 2 weeks that I shamelessly use all the credibility for all the time. It's a very non-content creator world for sure, because like for example हम इससे पहले बात कर रहे थे कि like artists are fundamentally inconsistent. A lot of them are, right? It isn't like you're having like इस painter ने आज painting बनाई है, फिर हर मंगलवार को एक painting आ रही है, right? Like that doesn't happen at all. There are these long periods of rest and frustration and like nothing happening, and then like absolute immersion, killer level की marathon level की immersion.
But the process is different for everybody. Like right now, like while we're recording this, I've been going through a massive creative block for the last 3 days. Happens to me once every month, a couple of months. Like, yesterday I woke up, I was like, I had a shoot yesterday, day before I had a shoot. So I did that, very boring product shoot. Like, that's more because it's good financially versus,
right.
creatively. So did that, but just having a very creative block. So sometimes you need to sit in your bed and play FIFA, play Cricket 22.
हमारे पास तो luxury नहीं है यार अभी तक. I think we'll have to like work to it slowly. I really want some more free time from my head so I can think about stuff.
Yeah, so that I think everyone has that process. But some artists are ultra consistent. Like Hussain.
Yeah.
Hussain used to take out paintings like this.
Hey.
Hussain used to go to, I think a lot of big artists used to do this. He used to go to restaurants, pay the bill with a drawing, no? Once you've made it.
अच्छा हाँ कि ले.
मतलब अब drawing पे GST कैसे लगेगा? अलग है. Drawing पे VAT कैसे लगेगा?
Yeah, I know this Pablo Picasso story.
Yeah, so similar.
The one with the woman, right? Where he's like कि एक औरत कहती है मेरे को बना दे. बना देता है. कह रहा है $60,000 की है.
But now the thing is also that the market is such that you are well served to have less work than more work out in public. Whether you're making it, if you're making 100 a week, you would still, it's better that you put 1 or 2. Yeah. Because what's happened is that with our age especially, but a lot of the streetwear influence, the hype influence, ये होता है ना, that limited edition is better. And I think the art world was the original precursor to all of this.
Yeah, original exclusive.
Like जो 1 of 1 का price उधर है and 1 of 1,000 का price इधर है.
Commodity नहीं है ना. Like it's like you still cannot treat art as a commodity no matter how much you try. Yeah. You can't be like bro इसके 36 दे दे.
But the original idea of that is that for artists they cannot, like when you're painting etc. For a photographer it's much easier. But when you're painting, when you're making art, when you're making digital art, you cannot actually come up with 20 in a week. That entire process takes time. At least for me it does. For most people I know also it does. The process takes time.
So do you never go around Delhi clicking pictures? Like why have you never chosen Delhi as a subject?
Well, I have. The issue is that Delhi is comparatively, versus if you look at London or even if you look at a place like Calcutta, Delhi is not a city made for walking.
That's my hypothesis.
Right?
Yeah.
Delhi is not a city made for walking.
Yeah.
One is obviously the weather. Either it's so polluted that
also footpaths are infrequent.
Yeah. And even when they're there, people don't use them. That's a different issue. But yeah, so it's not a city made for walking. So when you want to go and take pictures, it becomes an event. ठीक है, प्लान बनाते हैं, यहाँ
फोटो वॉक करते हैं एयरबीएनबी पे जाके, चांदनी चौक आज जा रहे हैं फोटो
यहाँ
लेने
चांदनी चौक चलो, यहाँ फोटो लेंगे, नेहरू प्लेस चलो, वहाँ फोटो लेंगे, पालिका बाजार चलो, वहाँ फोटो लेंगे. Like I'm shooting in Palika Bazaar next weekend for something. But I've made that plan. I have to go and shoot there.
So
it's a plan.
Task भी एक तरह से वो.
And then anyways, basically from the months of late April to July, you'll melt if you go and start taking photographs. Versus I was just in Calcutta at the beginning of the month. Now that city, I mean, is made for a photographer. Because forget that it's more receptive to walking. I didn't walk much in Calcutta either. But that city just has its own, the contrast. If you were looking at that, if cities were on Lightroom or photos on Lightroom, bhai, uska contrast is at 70.
Yeah.
The colors.
Is it the way the light comes in?
No, it's the colors. Like their buses are yellow on blue, right? Just the colors in that city are beautiful. They like pop a lot. And I did a show in Calcutta and I was speaking to someone. Someone was doing an interview with me and I was telling them that this city is, the contrast of colors in this city is beautiful. But Delhi is a very different type of photography.
Delhi is a greener city. It's very green.
Yes, but the photography is much more people-centric.
Yeah.
Right? It's more people doing stuff.
Shout out to humans of Delhi.
More people, in shops, etc., etc. So that way Delhi is very interesting. I just haven't explored it yet.
I have it's not even original anymore to go to Chandni Chowk and click a man who's sitting outside a shop. It's the most standard photo.
But that's the fun, no? The fun is that there are 10 photos of this. So how is mine going to look different? That's the fun. Nahi to bhai, you find a new thing and shoot it. That's also a different way to go about it.
Yeah.
But see, everyone is a photographer now. Because of this thing, everyone is a photographer.
So for listeners, this thing is a phone,
For listeners, yes. So with the phone, everyone is a photographer. Like even your cheapest phones have good cameras. So not that you have to be different from everybody, but as an artist, how are you making this bottle look different? How are you making this Diet Coke can look different? How are you implementing your perspective on that? That's what I have fun with. Obviously, you can find new things. Like I got this thing with wildlife photography because, see, my tiger photos are good, but are they like very, very good? No. Right. So I don't have the technical level nor the equipment to be taking like National History Museum, Kolkata, London, mein Wildlife Photographer of the Year photos. I don't. So how am I going to, with the equipment that I have and with the technical skill that I have, how am I going to make these things look like art?
Which is why constraint is wonderful, no?
Yeah.
You can have, for example, when they shoot films, right? You can have 100 crore budget and it's like there is no budget. Like, so जब कोई constraint नहीं होता ना, it invites a crazy level of ridiculousness.
Yeah.
In the name of हम experiment कर रहे हैं.
Yeah.
Right? But when you're like कि bro हमारे को iPhone पे shoot करनी है picture. This is when creativity is born. Yeah. When you have constraints. I don't think it's born with infinite budgets and like
100%. 100%. Like you have to but that's only if you don't let the constraints consume you. It's very easy for me to say, oh, my camera is now 8 years old. It's not a good camera. So I can't take good photographs.
Yeah.
That fine. Then don't take good photographs. No. Then do something else. So if you don't, as long as you don't let your constraints consume you, like with a phone you can do amazing photography. You make this glass look like 10 different things. Download a pirated version of Photoshop and lage raho.
Is it challenging to speak about this art career given the history that you have with everyone knows you, your family is that kind of thing?
No, it's very liberating. It's very liberating in the sense that this is something that I am doing, right? Because with my exhibition, for example, we had about 12 to 1500 people that came. Now, a lot of those people came because of who my family was. Let's go, whatever. But a lot also came because of the artwork, right? And with this, your art is your art. Everyone's going to receive it a certain way. It doesn't matter who you are.
उसमें कुछ ठप्पा नहीं लगा सकते ना.
Doesn't matter
Politics
who you
का.
are. Yeah. So I find it very liberating because it's just completely me. After, to a certain extent, people will support, yes, because of the family I come from, but that is also equalizing, right? Like, for example, on social media, a lot of my followers are political people, right, who unfortunately have followed me.
And now they have to see your
listening to-
photos.
They either are seeing my art or they're seeing me scream at my football team. Right? So I am not going to change who I am for anybody. Right? That's why I find, as an artist, I find my art very liberating, because that's me. And there's nothing and nobody that can change that.
But you must have like a lot of people in your life reaching out for personal favors or being extra nice to you. I'm sure that has happened all your life.
Yeah, it has. But, it's a part of life.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is now. I can't change who I am.
Right.
So now when it comes to personal favors and all, I am not a political person. So anyone who reaches, I have a pretty simple policy. Anyone who reaches out to me in a political way, I don't really respond. I actually don't respond at all.
Right.
Because I'm not involved in that world.
Right.
Right. So I have, even if it's a friend, most of my friends know me well enough that they don't do that. But if someone was, then it's not like I'm not involved, and it's something I don't have the intention of being involved in. If you want to come and talk to me about photography and art and football and streetwear, then be my guest. And a lot of people do that. A lot of people who started following me because of who my parents are now becoming Tottenham fans, are now commenting on my tweets about.
You're the Tottenham fan, hai kya? Tottenham Hotspur. So I only know the two names. I know nothing more about them.
It's the only toxic relationship of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, people,
Good team hai kya? Is it a bad team?
Sometimes. We are doing well for the first time. We're happy.
Yeah. So what is it about football? Achha, मेरे को ना, this is something great that you're here now. हम तो इंडिया में रहते हैं. What is the crazy level of obsession or pride that these European teams inspire? कि चाइना का बच्चा के जाके बोल रहा है ना, जो लिवरपूल की बात है ना. Like, how does that happen? How are they able to transcend these international boundaries and make fans all across the world?
It's crazy, and I think that's the most beautiful thing about football. And I think it's one of the only sports, like basketball doesn't have this. Cricket has it a little bit, but not as much. Cricket doesn't have this tribal sense that...
Cricket is not a tribal sport at all.
No.
It's fan and fan and fan and fan sitting together just.
Yeah. With football, I am born and brought up in Delhi. I used to go to London as a kid, but I had never gone to Tottenham. I mean, I support Tottenham. I still don't go to Tottenham. I go for the matches, but that's it. So how have I... That's the interesting thing. No, how have I, because of some player, Gareth Bale used to play for them, he was a very good player, fallen in love with this team, and now I'm never going to change it. And a attack on this team is almost tantamount to an attack on me. So this is the psychology of football is very interesting. I was planning on doing a project called The Language of Football, which basically explores how, and I got this idea when I was going back to London last year, and I was supposed to be traveling with a friend, but we were on two different seats. I was one row behind him. Now, there's a height of COVID, height of the second wave, the really bad one. So I'm sitting in the flight, and the guy on my right is refusing to wear a mask. Okay, so now our plan was to obviously switch like everyone does. He's not switching. The guy next to my friend is not switching. So I got stuck next to the dude without a mask, refusing to put on a mask, whatever. And my friend got stuck next to a guy who worked as a football financial analyst.
Wow.
So while I am turning my face and not taking my double, triple mask off for 9 hours, my friend is sitting there and he's spoken to this guy for 9 hours straight about football. So it's basically exploring the fact that how this game has become a language. Like if you knew about football and I didn't know you at all and we meet on a flight, we can just talk.
We don't have to know each other's names. We don't have to exchange contacts. Hame kuch nahi kar. It's just that 1, 2, 3 hour.
Even at a certain level, we don't even need to speak the same language if there's a football game on. Right? How the game is a language on its own. And I think more than anything else, that's the beauty of football. That this, basically, how can I, in what other way, what other sport, what other interest do you have this tribal feeling for something that is so many miles away?
It's very incredible. I didn't think about that at all.
It's different for people who go there. Like when I went there for the first time, that was it. That confirmed it. Right? Once you go there, there's no turning back.
फिर तुम हो गए वहाँ के.
If you don't support a team and you go for a couple of games, like I took my best friend, he didn't really watch football, and we were in college together. So I said, you come with me, and don't go clubbing. Come with me. I'll show you why I do this every weekend and I don't go out at night. Why I save money. So in my first year, I was completely broke before I started working. Didn't like to take too much money from my parents and all. So I would skip meals to save money to go for football games.
Yeah.
Right.
Would people believe that when you say that, like, aap aise bro? Because, I'm just saying, people will have that skepticism.
They'll have skepticism, but boss, I know. I lost 20 kilos in my first semester because of weight loss and football.
Usually, ulta, that's freshman 15. You put on weight. Yeah.
So initially, for the first 10 days when my parents went to drop me, then I put on weight. Then we switched to Diet Coke and one bread sandwich a day. Yeah. So I took him and I wanted to basically show him that this is why I'm doing this every weekend. We walked out and he said, I realize why you don't like going out and you'd rather save money and go for these football games. So he became a Tottenham fan. Another guy again became a Tottenham fan because it's so that you become a family of 60,000 people. There is I can know the best thing about going to a football stadium is when your team scores and there are 3 random people who've jumped on you who you don't know, who you'll never meet again, who you'll never see again in your life. And you're hugging them like they're like they're the closest family that you have. It's actually, I love football as a game. But these, now as I get older, these sides are very, very interesting and compelling for me.
My roommate in college was a big football fan, और वो तो American था. We had guitars, we would jam. हमारी इतनी बनती थी because of number one, sharing space in a tiny ass dorm, whatever. But he got me into FIFA at least, which I'm very happy for. And I sucked at the game so much, so he would be like, "Ek kaam kar, tu ultimate team khel. You can at least build our league." And then I would be so surprised, like he would just walk in at night. और जो हमारे खुद नाम दिए हुए players that no one knows, come on bro, be strong, you can do it. मैं जो AIs को, जो मतलब computer के bots को he was cheering at them, right? And then when I came back, I started going to gaming partners and started playing FIFA. When I would go with friends who play football, right, I would ask their suggestions. वो game भी अलग तरह से tweak करते हैं कि नहीं इसको यहाँ लगा, इसको यहाँ लगा. I was so bad at playing football, right, all my life. I would play rugby जब school में जब बारिश आती थी तो कीचड़ हो जाता था क्योंकि मेरे को वो आता था. I could tackle people, I could bring them down, I could run fast. But I couldn't for the life of me turn my foot to an angle and to a ball. मैं ठुड्डा भी मारता था, ball कहीं और जाती थी. I've even done an own goal. So that was not my thing at all. But thanks to FIFA, every now and then I can have a surface level conversation about football. And people are like, yaar, aap to kafi knowledgeable lag rahe ho. I'm like, you have no idea. I just played a lot of FIFA. But it's cool because you also understand, even by just playing that game, it's what I also find about football, which is incredible, is the striker takes all the glory. Robert Lewandowski, for example, he's striker. Muller is right behind him, and Muller is okay with that.
Bayern is your FIFA team now.
Yes, Bayern Munich. सबसे strongest उनके stats देख के मैंने कहा और German that's why I know that. I watch all the compilations of Robert Lewandowski 2021 goals. Those are Bayern's goals. I know nothing about the guy, and I'm like, यार ये बढ़िया है. Because I score all my goals with him. Him and Kingsley Coman. Yeah, those are my dudes. Pace. That's what it's about.
That's what it's about.
So, do you like Bayern? Do you think it's a cool team?
I have a bone to pick with Bayern.
बता ना मुझे. मैं थोड़ी Bayern से हूँ.
Bro, me and my friends, Bayern was playing Tottenham in London. Okay, and me and my friends were like, we'll go. महंगा ticket था, ठीक है, तो book किया, whatever. Saved up, booked it, and we all went. There were 4-5 of us. Only 2 of us were Tottenham fans. The other 2 were neutrals. But Bayern Tottenham, good game. Let's go watch it. Boss, ऐसी धुलाई हुई ना हमारी.
7-0.
7-2.
7-2. Okay, I think I've seen that compilation.
And the worst part was that we were in the big Tottenham home end. So हम वहाँ खड़े हैं. We scored the first goal. We were like, wow, this is going to be one of the best nights. ठीक है, random लोग के साथ celebrate कर रहे हैं. फिर बायर्न ने दूसरे साइड 2 मार दिए.
Who scored the first 2 goals?
I think Kimmich scored a crazy one, and then
Kimmich is a center mid, right?
Yeah. Then Lewandowski scored. So we were like, chalo 2-1 at half time. Then Bayern was attacking our side.
Yeah.
Bhai, every shot they took in was going in.
They're dangerous, bro.
And
I always win with them.
We were like, now we've paid so much. अब देख ही लेते हैं यार. जिसके भी गोल जा रहे हैं देख ही लेते हैं.
टॉटनहम वाली साइड चीयर ही नहीं कर रही थी, दुख में थी वो.
People left यार. I don't like leaving when my team is losing. I'm like, if I'm here till the end when we win, I'll be here till the end when we lose.
And it doesn't matter to you कि टॉटनहम के लोग नहीं जानते who you are. You're just like playing full fan at that point.
Yeah. Boss, see, like you said, abroad at least nobody gives a shit who you are past a certain point.
Yeah.
Right. You can be a Bollywood actor. You can be a Hollywood actor.
No, I don't mean in that sense. Like, you say like it's your team.
Yeah.
You have that, right? It doesn't matter कि टॉटनहम वाला कभी तुम्हें जान भी नहीं पाएगा.
No. Doesn't matter at all.
Yeah.
In the sense
I'm only saying because I've never been a fan of anything.
In the sense that, like, if I am a Tottenham fan and I'm, like I said, if I'm standing next to someone random for 90 minutes, that guy and me will be best friends for 90 minutes. Then we'll never meet again. Unless you have a season ticket and you sit next to a guy again and again in that season. Like, you'll see maybe if you, like, there are a lot of football influencers that obviously people recognize and all. But otherwise, even then, it's like everyone is equal there. Everyone is equal. Actually, if you go and sit in like the premium seats and all, people laugh at you because the actual experience is
in the cheap seats.
The cheap seats are best. I always go cheap seats.
Premium box के अंदर it's like sort of looking down at the game. Yeah.
Not even looking down at the game. The view may be really good, but the experience is not the same.
Because no one is. Well, people have paid to be quiet.
Yeah, I mean, you have to. You have to end up a couple of rows down when your team scores, right? So that doesn't happen in like the premium box.
उनका walk of shame होता है क्या जब वो उतर के जा रहे होते नीचे?
कौन? वो players?
नहीं
वैसे नहीं होता. Because at the end of the day, you're still all supporting the same team. No? But it's just, I find much more that I would much rather sit in the...
Have you watched those like long ass compilations of hilarious football fails?
नहीं, वो नहीं देखता मैं.
अच्छा.
मैं highlights पे I stop it there.
अच्छा, because I used to watch America's Funniest Videos का जो वो YouTube channel था ना, so it's like the recommendation side में आ रहा था. I just saw some guy shitting in the middle. कोई ऐसा कहीं some like broke European country was playing a match and like this other guy like was holding in a shit and he shat on the other guy's like उसके ऊपर ही shit कर दिया. Like it's just like some very weird shit happens in football, huh? Some very very weird shit that I think you cannot explain any other way. Like even cricket के अंदर क्या होता है? It's two guys running, the rest of the team is fielding. In football में everyone is in close contact with each other. So a bunch of cool things can happen.
You know, with cricket also it's cricket also has a lot of, and I think people give cricket a bad rap.
No, I'm not saying that.
No, I'm saying people. I think cricket also has a lot of technical, as a sport is very different to football. It doesn't have that much of physical intensity, but the technical level has to be high.
Yeah.
Because when that ball is coming at you 140 kilometers per hour, first of all, to make the ball go 140 kilometers per hour
is insane.
And land at the right place is insane. And then to be hitting that ball is also insane.
Yeah, athletes are insane in general, bro.
I don't have that sort of work rate.
हाँ, वो they you know, we एक बड़ी weird चीज़ हुई. So our Dostcast account, we sort of run it like on automation, Instagram account, पे हम trailers वगैरह डालते हैं. And one of my teammates just shared like this clip where comedian Kumar Varun is talking about how when Mo Salah came to Liverpool, hate crime went down.
Yeah, I saw that.
For some reason, your entire football community picked it up. And like just blew our page past. Football एक ऐसा, and I was like, oh man, like मैं तो इस दुनिया का भी नहीं हूँ.
Yeah.
It's all these people came in with like a fact that could be proven, and they're like, this community of fans is fanatic.
Yeah.
They support, like they're, मतलब, I remember one instance, मैं Bangalore में had gone to meet like a friend's friend. We were staying at his place about like 6 years ago. So इस फ्लैट में पानी नहीं है. 2 दिन हो गए हैं. लड़के बिना पानी के जी रहे हैं, राइट? ट्राइस यूनिवर्सिटी के बैचलर्स प्रोग्राम के लड़के, पानी ही नहीं है. नॉट इवन mineral water. Like they just live dehydrated, right? It's two dudes playing FIFA. We walk in with our rucksacks, like, oh wow, global digital nomad, यहाँ पे मिट्टी विट्टी लगी हुई है, हम्पी से बस के अंदर आए हैं घूम फिर के, ठीक है, हम यहाँ पे कि अब बैंगलोर में कहीं पनाह मिलेगी. So we go there, two dudes playing, two dudes sitting, जैसे सोफा होता है ना, सोफे के ऊपर जो टॉप वाला हेडबोर्ड होता है, उसमें बैठ के उस मैच पे कमेंट्री कर रहे हैं. तो मतलब जो गेम में कमेंट्री वो चल रही है अलग, गेम ये अलग, और उसने अब यहाँ से ऐसे मारा और लगे अरे लेफ्ट. Bro, like how will a man play when there's so many people involved? And so then we're like, यार ये तो यही करते रहते हैं, like we just lie down and like chill, हम थोड़ी देर relax करते हैं. रात को we come back from this party, we're about to fall asleep, go check in on this guy's room just to see because we hear sounds. So this guy's an old time radio, पुराना वाला रेडियो होता है ना, जैसे ऐसे नहीं दिखाते जब आदमी बहुत मेहनत कर रहा होता है एग्जाम्स के लिए. एक बल्ब जला हुआ है near his desk, he's got his, मतलब कान उसके फट सकते हैं, उसने अपने कान लगा रखे हैं स्पीकर पे, एंड इज लिसनिंग टू फुटबॉल कमेंट्री at like 3 a.m. at night. So that's when I was like, bro, like for me there's like these guys were like a different breed. It's just nothing inspires as much passion.
I haven't missed a game since 4 years now, 4-5 years now, more maybe. 5 years now.
What was it like interviewing India की जो national team है उसका coach Stephen Constantine?
That was very interesting. So we did that last month on our podcast, 18 yards. That was very interesting because it, like, this is this person who has managed India, managed Nepal, managed Rwanda, managed in England, managed, like, he's one of the most traveled people in football.
He's managed England as well at some point.
In England.
Acha.
Yeah, he was at a lower level club there. But very interesting. It was like, you know, I mean, the insight we got into not just how Indian football runs, but what it's like to actually be working in this ecosystem in the football world was very interesting. And I think it was well received also. One of our highest rated episodes.
जैसे इंडिया के अंदर आई ऑलवेज हियर, बिकॉज व्हेन आई वाज अ किड इन स्कूल, लाइक अ लॉट ऑफ आवर फुटबॉल स्टार फ्रेंड्स जो मतलब स्कूल में अच्छा फुटबॉल खेलते थे, दे वुड ऑफन टॉक अबाउट कि यार बार्सिलोना ना कैंप लगा रहा है उसमें चलते हैं, ठीक है, मैड्रिड ना कैंप लगा रहा है उसमें चलते हैं, एंड मैन्यू कैंप लगा रहा है उसमें चलते हैं, चेल्सी लगा रहा है. इट नेवर मटीरियलाइज दो.
नहीं, बिकॉज सी now when you're older you look at it as what it is. No, it was basically they would set up these camps, etc. So as a very very minimal 1% of it would have been talent scouting, and the rest is basically as a commercial product,
as an activity कि हम ये भी कर रहे हैं. Look at our outreach program इस तरह से. हाँ,
not just outreach program, but you know, I mean, like in Delhi and all, is to make money.
Okay,
I'm not saying that in a bad way.
They
have to, but yeah, so no one really set up an academy here, and I mean, football here now is a bit of a mess.
Why's that?
It's just been badly run for the last few years. I think you know, it's just they've appointed the wrong guy as the manager. It's a very talented team, but not doing well. At the federation level, it's not managed well. It's a very toxic atmosphere between the federation and the fans. The fans are basically asking for a minimum this thing that shows some effort at least. Federation basically seems like it's not interested. You know, they screw up a lot. Like India hosted the Asian Cup, Women's Asian Cup
for football
in January. Yeah. Now, if we had even come second in our group, we won one game in the knockouts, which we could have done because we actually have a very good women's team. We would have got to the World Cup, like the proper women's World Cup, and that's a massive deal, yeah. And they didn't keep the bio bubble properly. The entire team got COVID.
The what?
The COVID bio bubble.
Acha, हाँ.
So they didn't preserve the Indian team's COVID bio bubble properly. So the entire team got COVID. Then they tried to blame it on the Asian Federation when it was actually the Indian Federation's
What the fuck? They got the entire team COVID. नहीं तो
the entire team got COVID. यार नहीं तो World Cup पहुंच जाते.
Our women's team could actually have gone to the World Cup of women's football, which is a huge thing, by the way.
And nobody realizes this because the thing is that Philippines made it to the World Cup. right? Philippines is 30, 40 places behind us in the women's rankings, right? So if we had not got COVID, our team would, we'd be like, India would be in the World Cup, yaar.
When USA won the women's football World Cup, Megan Rapinoe became a star.
Yeah.
Right? So we could have had some of our own moments as well.
Yeah, and forget everything else, yeah. Forget it as fans, whatever, we're very invested, yes. But just for these girls, yeah, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Yeah.
Who knows how many of them will still be playing in 4 years, what the situation
and
will be
because
like
it isn't like it's the most celebrated sport in the country. It's already like a niche sport despite its overwhelming global popularity.
Yeah, and it's just gross mismanagement. It's just irresponsibility. It's not nice, and now finally the Supreme Court has got into it, and I think they've removed the guys in charge, because they were 3 years, 4 years past their tenure on a technicality. But now what will happen is, even though they've been rightfully removed, FIFA has a rule that there can't be external interference regardless of the reason into the football federation. So we will most likely get a ban for a year, 2 years, maybe slightly more. So it's just now we're at the stage where it's not going to be good for the next few years, but hopefully the people in charge have learned from this and the right people are put in place, because there are some people doing some fantastic stuff when it comes to football. Like you look at the state of football in Kerala, fantastic. They're like doing well in the ISL. They're doing well in the
What's the ISL?
ISL is our Premier League, basically.
Okay.
That's a whole different can of worms, because it's a private league, basically.
So what does that mean?
So it means if you do well, like in England, if you are in the last 3, right, you'll get relegated to the league below it.
अगर आप A में खेल रहे हो आप B में चले जाओगे. हाँ.
इसमें नहीं है. इसमें you can only come in if you buy a team. Right.
Buy a team?
मतलब जैसे IPL था ना, how the IPL functions, it functions like that.
Okay.
That doesn't really work in football, because we don't have
there isn't capital to put in football in the first place.
So, anyways, that's a whole different thing. But Kerala football is doing well. There's this guy called Ranjit Bajaj who runs the Minerva Academy, which is, I think, armed forces, to prepare kids for armed forces and all. He's very passionate about football. So he's doing a fantastic job with with taking on the guys who are in charge right now, B, with building young football players, and C, building his own team. He's building a team in Delhi called Delhi FC. So there are people who are very passionate. People are doing a lot. People like this guy's just putting in his own money. What is he going to get out of it? He's not returning any
But he's
profit.
one man among several who do nothing. Huh?
Yeah. So it's just that from the fan side, right? And he would also be considered a fan. From the fan side, there's a lot of push, but the entire system is messed up.
So ऐसा फिर भी क्यों नहीं होता रेहान कि जैसे हमारे players दूसरे दुनिया भर में select क्यों नहीं होते?
Because not good enough.
Like physically not good enough, like skill wise not good enough?
No, simply because our football calendar doesn't consist of enough games for our national team to be competitive, A, and B, for our players to be at a level that they can play abroad. Right?
हमारे गेम्स ही नहीं होते इतने ज़्यादा.
नहीं होते यार. 8-10 टीम है ISL में, ठीक है. नेशनल टीम के 8-10 मैच होते हैं, 12 मैच होते हैं साल में. तो मैक्सिमम दे प्ले 30 गेम्स. यू नीड टू बी प्लेइंग एटलीस्ट 40-50 गेम्स अ ईयर टू बी फिट इनफ टू प्ले इन दीज लीग्स. A, B, हमारा ग्रास रूट्स का अभी तक तो सिस्टम इज़ नॉट गुड इनफ टू प्रोड्यूस प्लेयर्स. एंड इट्स सैड यार, बिकॉज यू शुड हैव टू इम्प्लीमेंट अ गुड सिस्टम. Just implement a good system. There will be enough people wanting to promote this, to help out financially, etc., etc. We're a big country. Not everyone can play cricket, na? Out of 1.3 billion people.
No, several people play hockey, basketball.
Yeah,
there's so many other sports.
You can put in as many sports, and there will be takers.
Yeah.
Right. It's just you have to. These are all excuses. Excuses that we don't have the system. Then put the system. No, there are enough people who want to.
Just share में फरीदाबाद में मैं पला बड़ा हूँ ना. Yeah, everyone was a cricket watcher, but there were so many football players.
Yeah.
Which is a very weird thing, क्योंकि schools के अंदर it's easier to play cricket.
See, football is the most democratic game. Right? It's a beautifully democratic game. So it's like.
नहीं, गोल तो स्ट्राइकर ही मारता है लेकिन.
गोल तो कोई भी मार सकता है, but in the sense that.
Actually, I take that back. That makes me sound very stupid. हाँ, ऐसा नहीं है.
Anyone can play. Right, all you need is a ball and a little patch of land, and you can go very far playing it as long as there's a system to support you. And that system here doesn't exist. That's a simple issue.
What about the men's team? Like I know कि हम पहले बात कर रहे थे, we were talking about Baichung Bhutia and Sunil Chhetri, but we sort of use them as icons. कि Indian football मतलब Sunil Chhetri, and we stop at that.
So they're not bad, but the management is incorrect of the team, so the coach shouldn't be there. This team is supremely talented. There are a lot of good young players coming up. It's a young team. But again, it's just the system hasn't been there to support this team throughout. A, B, they don't play enough games.
Like you said, huh?
So it's not looking great. It's just they need to reset. Now the government has cut their budget also, which is fair enough, to be very honest. Because I mean, why should the government keep putting in money if this thing it's not going to function properly? I mean, we've just won the Thomas Cup in badminton. They'll put more money there, obviously. There's more of a scope there. So there needs to be a restructuring. They need to look at the grassroots situation. They need to look at building it, resetting. It has to be a reset now. We can't, people are saying, 2026 World Cup because there are 48 teams. Can't look at it like that. We don't have a scope. Chalo, off the off chance miracle ho jaye, that'll happen regardless of if the federation does anything or not. It has to be looked at in a non-linear fashion. You have to look at how you can build this in different age groups, in different areas. You have to look at it, I mean, you have to get people involved, like on our podcast only. Stephen Constantine, he said that I would love to come back as a director of football. Get these people involved. No? If someone wants to come and help, come and get them to help. Someone who's talented, has so much experience, get them to come and help. Get them to implement these things that they know so well about. So you just have to look at it in a broader sense. You can't just look at it like, okay, how do we get the national team to the World Cup? You'll get it once, maybe by 2040, एक बारी हो जाएगा. I don't think होएगा, but maybe on the off chance एक World Cup पहुंच जाएंगे. But it's not. You want to be sustainable, na?
Yeah. People can check out the 18-yard spot for more football-related stuff. You hosted with 2 other friends, and you have a bunch of episodes out. क्योंकि मतलब मैं बहुत empathize कर सकता हूँ football के साथ, लेकिन मैं इतना नहीं खेलता हूँ. But I certainly understand what it must feel like, right? Like I see it for the जैसे जो मेरे अपने passions हैं, I see it the same for them as well when there are like glaring problems in that. Like for example, the state of writing in India, because that's a big passion of mine, like writing. Yeah. So I see that a lot of really bad English is like celebrated as good writing. क्योंकि CBSE में English में 100 में से 100 marks मिल जाते हैं. There is no real skill involved. But we can get into that rabbit hole.
That was a very perplexing thing for me. 100 कैसे आते हैं English में?
No, 95. I correct that. I don't think 100 आना because
I know people who got 100 in English.
How?
I don't know.
Because I mean,
how can you get 100 in English?
You just beat the system. That's what I'm saying, because it's a country of exam takers.
Yeah.
As opposed to like skill learners. That's shifting now with all the new online edtech revolution jo ho rahi hai, that's shifting. But it's just, I would just say like you with football, it's me with like writing. Like a lot of like really bad writing is celebrated. And as a result, सबको लगता है वो अच्छे writer हैं. I had this experience. I went abroad. They put me in the ESL class. मैं तो इतना पढ़ा लिखा था. And then I realized, wow, I knew all these words, but I couldn't form logical sentences. I couldn't argue my points. तो ये scene था. Bro, it's been great having you on Dostcast. I didn't expect to...
I've had a lot of fun.
Yeah, likewise. I didn't expect to go into so many tangents, but yeah, and like also speak to you about football. When we met for the first time at Sumit's gig, oh my God, I was not gonna shout out Sumit Roy. Here it goes again. Fuck my life.
No, I wanted to make sure that we did, because I met him yesterday and I was telling him that on the episode you did with Udbhav, there was 7 minutes. I was joking with him. I was like, मैं 8 minute करके आऊँगा.
हाँ यार, मैं कोशिश करता हूँ ना, ऐसा लग जाएगा ना कि सुमित अपनी लॉबी चला रहा है, मेरे को सुमित से फंडिंग मिलती है. पर हाँ यार, shout out to सुमित. Fuck. All right. I was like, इतनी बार मेरे मन में आया like to like, because हम इतनी सारी बातें कर रहे थे that are like a Sumit parallel thing, but I was like no, but here it goes again. Yeah, bro. So people can follow you. They can check out your photography on, what's the website called?
It's just my name, raihanvadra.com.
Okay.
And my Insta is on the same thing.
Yeah, same Raihan Vadra, same season. And the 18-yard spot is available on...
all platforms.
All audio platforms.
Yeah, all audio platforms.
Except for YouTube, है ना? ठीक है. Sweet. Cool. So this was today's Dostcast. आपको हम मिलेंगे अगले Tuesday और Friday. Stay tuned. Subscribe करना मत भूलना. Bye bye.